Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, everybody. Come on in. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back live again today. Hope you are doing well. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Come on in the room. Let's chat. Let's chat. Come on in. Let's see who else will join the live this evening. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are doing well. Elijah, what is your problem? What is Elijah's problem? Huh? I told him to ask you for some cereal. I told you to ask him to ask you for some cereal because he said there's no more pot pies. That's what he says. I don't know. Oh, well, I'm trying to do a YouTube video and he down here carrying on. There's nobody on here yet, though. Elijah, your dad said come upstairs. He gonna give you cereal. Hello, good evening. Good evening, all. How are you this evening? I want to start off by apologizing for last night. I'm not sure what was going on. So weird. My internet the whole day was perfectly fine. The whole day, perfectly fine. And I start on YouTube, it starts acting a fool. Then I get on my phone and then my phone decides to die. So that's why the live abruptly ended abruptly on yesterday. So anyway, I apologize about that, and we are back. We are back this evening. And now Elijah decides he wants to cut up in the background. Give me 1 second. His dad is here, my husband. Let me go have him. The joys of motherhood. One moment. Hold the line. Go upstairs to your daddy. Stop this foolishness before I beat your butt. Go. I am so sorry about that, you guys. Oh my God, crazy. Everything was fine. It's like, ooh, sabotage. But we're not gonna let that stop us. How is everybody this evening? Type of one in the chat to let me know if you can hear me. Type of one, say hello. Type anything in the chat to let me know if you can hear me. Hope my microphone is, yeah, real life, it happens. It happens. And I don't like to be phony. Some people, they get on, they present a TV life where there's no problems and everything goes perfect. That's not reality. Not all the time. That's not reality. It is, you know. Anyway, I hope everyone is having a good evening. Happy New Year again. If this is your first time joining us since the beginning of the new year, yes, the month is almost over, but we are still in a new year. We have 11 more months to go. This year is still a fresh baby, as my grandmother would say. It is still a fresh baby. I hope everyone had a wonderful day. I hope today was good to you. If you had a rough day, I pray tomorrow will be a better day. I pray that when you lay down that you will rest and not let the worries of today keep you from resting, that you find peace in your sleep and that you wake up renewed and refreshed for tomorrow. So, I wanted to get on here and just give some words of encouragement. We are living in a time that's kind of crazy, kind of crazy, not kind of crazy. It is crazy. Some things are crazy. Some things are not affecting us individually that may be affecting other people, but times may be uncertain for many of us. Um, they say we're not in a recession, but I don't believe that. A recession is here, or it's looming, or what have you. Amazon just announced yesterday that they were laying off 16,000 people. A email leaked. Was it really a leak? Was it really a leak? Um, but they said that they are laying off 16,000 people. We know we had a government shutdown not that many months ago, and we are on the verge of another shutdown if they don't make an agreement or stop another potential shutdown. I believe at the end of this month, if they don't come to some type of agreement. Anyway, there is no such thing as job security. Times can be uncertain, but and things can go wrong in life. But I want to encourage you that if life is not going the way you planned it, don't panic. Do not panic. Try to keep a level head. I mean, I know it may be hard that if you go to work today and you find out you are not going to have a job tomorrow, especially if you work a job where they don't offer a severance package. Um, I know many companies laid off right before the holidays, like Family, I think it was Family Dollar, and some other companies that don't generally offer a severance package to what I call people that are on the front line, like cashiers, stockers, all those kind of people. They don't offer them a severance package. But we could be tempted to fall apart, get in a panic when we find ourselves are going to be without a job in the near future, or maybe you go to work today and they tell you today, hey, the company is closing. I think I did a story. I don't know when it was last year, but last year I believe it was Pepsi. See, the Pepsi or Coca-Cola, the people went to work, and that same day they were laid off. They were told to come into the office, gather your things, and basically hit the bricks. get out the building. I think they told them they had 15 minutes to collect their belongings and get off the premises. It was like they were common criminals, like no respect, nothing. They had security waiting. I guess they felt like, hey, we're telling people immediately that you're going to be without a job effective immediately. I guess they thought some people may spaz out, so they had security there just in case. But it was like treating people like a common criminal. But I want to encourage you that if you find yourself in that situation, do not panic. And even if you did panic, calm yourself, regroup, even if you have to scream, yell, because you're scared. Finding yourself without a job and without money can be very frightening. I'm not going to lie, it could be very frightening. I will never pretend that it's something to be taken lightly because it's not. And I have been there where I had a mortgage, I had a home before I got married. I was a homeowner, I was a single woman. Um, I owned a home and I found myself not able to pay my mortgage. And it was a very frightening time. It was very scary. Um, and I ended up having to move back home with my parents. And the only reason why my house did not go into foreclosure is because at the time when I purchased the home was in Florida. And at the time that they sent me to a foreclosure, it was a lot of people going into foreclosure. And foreclosure court kept changing the date. They would be like, oh, be to court on this day. And a week or so before the court date, they'd send me a notice saying that they changed the date. And every time the date just kept changing. But eventually, after 3 years of not paying the mortgage, I was able to sell my home. That's a long time. But at first, I was in a panic. I was losing sleep. I was worried, like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my home. On top of that was the home that my dad grew up in. His family owned the home since he was 10 years old. When my parents decided to leave Florida, they sold me the home. I bought the home. So I was grieved with the fact of, hey, my dad grew up in this home. My cousins and I practically grew up in this home. We didn't live there. We had our own home with our parents as children. Well, some of us, you know how that goes. But me and my brothers, we didn't live in the home, but we spent a lot of time there with our grandparents. So I was grieved with the fact of, oh my God, I'm going to lose the family home. Now, mind you, my parents were done with the home. They sold it to me. And for a period of time, I was going to sell the home and move to Georgia, which is where I lived before I moved here to North Dakota. And I kept fixing things on the home, doing little, not major remodel, but just improvements on the home, painting, doing different things. And my mother kept saying to me, Shantae, sell this house and sell it now. And I kept saying, okay, but I'm going to do this. And she kept saying, I'm telling you to sell this house and sell it now. I kept putting it off. Oh, I'm going to paint this. I'm going to do this to the kitchen. Shantae, I told you, sell this home and sell it now. I didn't listen to her. Then the market shifted, and it seemed like I could not get rid of the home. I couldn't get rid of the home. So I ended up going into foreclosure. I was grieved. Oh my God, I should have listened to my mom. She told me to sell this house. I waited and waited. The market shifted, and now I can't sell it. I was losing sleep. I was I was worried about what my uncles, cousins, and whoever else in the family was going to think about me. Oh, Shantae lost the family home, oh, which I don't know why I was worried about what they were thinking about. They didn't help pay anything on the home. They didn't pay taxes. They didn't. And I owned the home. I owned it, and I was planning to sell it. I just didn't sell it in a timely manner. But it wasn't until I released it, I said to myself, a house is not a home. A house is not a home. Having a house does not make a home. A home is where you're at with your family, your loved ones, and where you make your memories. Yes, the home was important and it was a significant piece of our family history, but that's over. That's over. I got to let it go and I got to move on. And it wasn't until then that I stopped stressing, stopped worrying about it, and I found peace. And then I moved here to North Dakota. And then I started declaring, this house is going to be paid off. The house is going to be paid off, and I'm not going to owe any money for it or what have you. It wasn't until then that an investor came along and purchased the home. It didn't go into foreclosure and it didn't ruin my credit. Can you imagine not paying a mortgage for 3 years? Not paying a mortgage for 3 years and it not ruining your credit? That was amazing. And I'm not saying that will happen to anybody, but that's just my testimony. But it wasn't until I released that things shifted for me, because honestly, staying up late at night, worrying, pacing the floor was not helping me. It was not helping the situation. The next morning I was tired, I was stressed, and the house was still going into foreclosure. That was not helping me. I had to rest and release it. So I want to say to you, whatever you situation you may find yourself in, worrying is not going to fix the problem. Stressing is not going to fix the problem. Find rest. You may need to scream, you may need to cry, tell God that I don't know what I'm going to do, which is the truth. You may not know what you're going to do, but stressing is not going to fix the problem. And if you ask Him to show you what to do, He will give you an answer. He will give you an answer. And it doesn't have to be some long, drawn out prayer. Just talk to Him as if you're talking to a friend. And then start researching what you can do. And I'm saying that because people will often say, well, just find another job. But in this climate, it may not be that easy to just find another job. And I'm not against working. I'm not against working for someone. Hear me and hear me clearly. You may need to get a job and work for someone else. But what I am saying, if there is not a job available, because when there's a lot of people laid off in your community or your area or what have you, there are many people looking for a job. You're in stiff competition with other people. So you may not get hired right away. It may take you some time. So what do you do in the meantime? What are you going to do? And that's where it comes into sitting and evaluating your skills and what you do. Make a list of what you do well, and what someone else would be willing to pay you for. And it doesn't have to be something elaborate. And I always say, you don't have to be a master at it. You perfect your craft over time, but you have to start. Start somewhere and master your craft over time. Now, don't just start out and you selling something and it's just basic, real low quality. A few people pay you for it, but you don't continue to improve on it. You have to continue to improve on it so that more people will purchase whatever product or service that you are selling. But we all have something inside of us that will get us to the other side of where we at. We just have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. You cannot give up because times are hard or you run into a wall. Like, okay, many of you may know that I returned back to school. Woo! Everything was going great. I was invited to join the Honor Society. And I'm not bragging, but you got to have high grades to be invited to invited to join the Honor Society. So got A's in my classes. Then here comes anatomy. Here comes anatomy. The professor, he was, I don't know if he was a retired doctor and full of himself or what, but he was giving a lot of information that was irrelevant to the class. It was boring as watching paint dry. The information that he was giving in the lecture, much of it was not in the book. And I reached out to him to ask, I reached out to him. I said very professionally and politely, hey, the information you're talking about in this in your lectures are not in the book, are not in the book. Can you point me to where I can find this information? He did not respond to me. I emailed him again asking for his teacher's assistant's information because I'm thinking, okay, I'll just talk to the teacher's assistant, ask them for advice so I can know what to study, where to get the information so I can pass the exam. Didn't hear anything back to him. Then this man refers me to student success when I start having a hard time. And I'm thinking to myself, I know this joker did not refer me to student success when I have reached out to him twice. Now, by this time, I want to send him a nice, nasty email, but I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. But I had an attitude with him. And I kept saying to myself, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to push through. I can turn this thing around. But then I had to deal with reality like, hey, Shantae, you're not gonna turn this thing around. You're gonna mess around and fail this class and you're gonna mess up your GPA. So I said, okay, I'm gonna drop this class before I fail the class, and I gotta drop within the withdrawal term time. So I dropped the class. And then when it was time for me to re-sign up for the class this semester, I got discouraged. And sometimes I got discouraged and I was saying to myself, well, I don't know if this is what I should be doing. I don't know. It was hard last time. But then I had to tell myself, wait a minute. Pam and Isaiah didn't raise no punks. They didn't raise no punks. We are not quitters. Pam and Isaiah are my parents, if you haven't figured that out. They did not raise quitters. We do not quit. And then I had to tell myself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And to be quite honest, I am still telling myself that every day, even though the class that I'm taking now with a different professor, the information is concise, to the point, and easy to digest. But I keep having flashbacks of my last challenge in the class. And I was saying to myself, maybe this is not what I should be doing. But I had to tell myself, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I can push through and prevail and succeed. And I am determined to not only pass this class, but to finish at the top of the class because I am not a failure. And just because I ran into an obstacle doesn't mean that this thing is not for me, that I can do it. So I want to encourage you that even though you may find yourself in obstacles, having obstacles, something standing in the way of your success, do not give up. You may have to regroup and start over, but don't quit. Persevere, keep going through. And then I had to tell myself with returning to school, I'm getting everything that I asked for because the Lord told me to return to school 2 years ago and I didn't. I was putting it off. My mother in law was living with us. She was battling cancer, just different things. Um, Now she has relocated back to Georgia with my husband's sister. Um, so I'm not taking her back and forth to doctor's appointments, different things. My time is a little more freed up or what have you. And when the Lord told me to return back to school, I said, I don't want to have to take on student loans. I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to have student loan debt. I don't want to be indebted when I graduate from school. I'm going back to school. I'm not going to have to be in debt. When I first returned back to school, I had to pay some things out of pocket, but it was enough that I could pay out of pocket without having to take out loans. So then I had to remind myself, hey, if I ask the Lord to if let me return to school without having to take out student debt and without having loans, and I'm able to do so, why am I thinking that this is not for me if my prayer has been answered? So, Shantae, let's cut the foolish thinking out and keep going. Let's push through and rock this thing out. So, I just want to encourage you that you may run into obstacles at whatever you're doing. It may not be school, it may be something else, but do not give up. Persevere. And let me give you another story. I remember when I was living in Georgia, and y'all, I got myself, I'm not even going to say school is stressing me out. I'm stressing my own self out, and I'm having to tell myself to relax and calm down. It's going to be okay. But eczema on my face has taken over. It has taken over my chin to the point where it looks like I have been branded. I have been branded. And, you know, just a side note, I was a little hesitant of getting on here without makeup because of the eczema. But I said to myself, I'm not gonna put on makeup, first of all, because it's gonna get embedded in the eczema and it's gonna be harder to come off when I clean my face, which means I have to rub my face more, which is causing more irritant. So I had to get past that and be like, hey, whatever. It is what it is. We're getting on here and we're going to encourage the people. That's just a a side note. And I don't think anybody who's following me is following me for good looks. Now I don't think I'm ugly by a long shot. My mama didn't have no ugly kids. And my mom's 60, what is my mother? 68, 69. She don't have what is it, the cat eye wrinkles. My mama looks good. And they say I look just like her. And my husband thinks I look good. So hey, anyway, anyway, um, oh God, I got a little sidetracked. Forgive me, y'all. Oh, so when I was in Georgia, I was in Georgia for 3 years, a little over 3 years, I believe. And I could not find a job for the life of me. I always had, prior to moving to Georgia, I always had a good office job. I always made very good money for someone who dropped out of college. Very good money to the point where I purchased a home on my own. I always bought my own car because my parents weren't rich. You know, I didn't come from a trust fund or any of that. They did the best they could with what they had. But I had to buy my own cars, purchase my own home. Um, and as my grandmother would say, I didn't flat back, which meant sleeping with men to get some money for the home. To get some money to purchase the home, I did it on my own. So I always had a good office job for someone who did not graduate college. But when I moved to Georgia, I could not find a job for the life of me. Um, and this is why I tell people that sometimes you need to leave the place you're at that is comfortable and familiar because you know people there and move to somewhere else. Move, don't be afraid when where you live no longer serves you to move. But I was living in Georgia for 3 years, a little over 3 years, could not find a job for the life of me, to the point where I was practically stalking the McDonald's manager to try to get an interview to get a job. That's how bad I wanted a job. Now, McDonald's was my first job at 18. She never did call me back, which is probably good. No hard feelings. So I went to the unemployment office and I heard about this program that would pay for you to get training. So I went to their office, and the lady was very nice, very nice. And so she's like, well, look through this list to see what you want to get trained for. We'll train you. First thing I said, okay, paralegal. She says, no, we don't pay for that anymore because law firms are laying off. So we don't pay for that. So then I said, okay, well, I'll do procurement because I had a history as a purchasing agent before. And it's kind of in the same lines, procurement and purchasing agent, basically spending other people's money to buy stuff for the company. Oh, no, we don't pay for that either. There is no longer, what did she say? There wasn't a large need for that. Um, so no, we don't pay for that either. So then she says, but we will pay for CNA, certified nursing assistant. Let me tell y'all, I had a whole attitude with that lady. A whole attitude. I was like, I'm not doing that. Mind you, I'm living at my mama and daddy house. I have no money. I mean, I don't have 2 nickels. I have no money. When I say no money, I mean no money. But I had to learn not to say, I'm not doing that. Pride. Mind you, my mother was a nursing assistant back in the day before she started her own business. It was good enough for my mama, but not good enough for me. Shame, shame, shame. So I've said, no, I'm not doing that. Went back home, got a job with one of these work at home companies, and it was literally like fighting for hours. You have to go in and basically bid on hours against other people. Complete foolishness. Sometimes I didn't even make $100. It was terrible. Then I worked for another company where it was a regular work schedule and a regular paycheck every 2 weeks. But that was the company for hell. Working Comcast was the client, and it was the company from hell. But then I got laid off from that or what have you. So living at home, have no money, but I don't want to take what they offer me. I don't want to take what they offer me. So a whole year goes by. So I suck it up and I go back to the same lady and say, um, I'll do the CNA training. I'll do the CNA training. And she says, very politely, okay, no problem. We start going through the paperwork. I'm filling out the information. And she says, oh, you moved. Because I lived in one county and I moved right next door to the next county, not even 10 minutes away. But regardless, it was a different county. She says, oh, you moved. It's no longer in the same county. You're going to have to go over to Rockdale and deal with them. So I said, okay, no problem. And she says, well, I can tell you now, when you go over there, they don't have any money. Woo! It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then, y'all. She says, Rockdale County, they don't have any money, so you're not going to be able to get training. I said, oh my God. Oh my God. Because by this time, I was desperate. I should have already been desperate. Hey, you're back home with your mama and daddy. You don't want to be there. You know, in some cultures, living at home until you're married is fine. And my parents were never the type of parents that when you turn 18, you got to get out of my house, this and that. I stayed at home with my parents until they decided to move out of the state and I purchased their home. So, anyway. So she's like, Rockdale County doesn't have any money. And I'm like, oh no, I blew it. Then she says to me, but we're just not going to tell anybody you move. Let's continue on, fill out the paperwork, and we're not going to tell anybody you move. So I went through the process, started the training and what have you. And I promise you, the closer I got to the end of the training, I started having panic attacks out of nowhere. Don't know why. I just started having panic attacks. They were so bad. I think it was like the last week or 2 weeks before the end of school and before the exit exam. I was just like, I'm not going anymore. Now, I didn't have to drive myself. It was another person in the training program. She had a van, and we had to go to different clinical sites to do part of our training. And she just volunteered. We were a group of women in the class, group of girls. And she said, everybody just meet me here. I'll drive everybody over. Just excuse me, pile up in my van and we'll all ride together. Because it was like 45 minutes, an hour away. So transportation wasn't a problem or what have you. My parents weren't on the verge of putting me out. None of that. I wasn't hungry, none of that. But I just started having panic attacks out of nowhere. So one day I said, I'm not going. I'm not going back. And my mom was like, yes, you are. And I told my mom, I said, no, I'm not. You can't make me because I'm grown. I mean, I'm grown. I'm past 21. And I forgot who Pamela was because my mom was like, excuse you. Who do you think you're talking to? Because in my family, although you may be grown, you just don't disrespect your mother and tell her what you're not going to do. Even to this day, my mother, last week, I was having a conversation with her, and she was saying some things that got on my nerves, y'all. And I was ready for her to stop talking and get off my phone. But I didn't cut her off. I wasn't like, I don't want to hear that. And I just listened to what she had to say. And then about 5, 10 minutes after she stopped talking, I said, okay, I understand. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Because what we're not gonna do is disrespect mother, okay? We're not gonna do that. But I told my mom, I'm not going back and you can't make me. And she was like, oh, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It was so bad. The panic attacks were so bad. My mother had to put my shirt on me like I was a little kid, needing help getting dressed. She's like, get your clothes on and you're going and I'm going to drop you off. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Because I passed the test and that opened the door to me coming to North Dakota. Oh, excuse me. That opened the door to me coming to North Dakota. In Georgia at that time, this is before the pandemic, nursing assistants were still making between minimum wage 7.25 and $9 an hour. I heard about North Dakota, all the great opportunity here. I heard about it on the news or what have you. So I started doing some research or what have you, even before I graduated the program, and I got a job offer here contingent on me getting my license. Didn't have to pay to move here. They paid for the moving truck and all that stuff. Thank God, because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. If it was up to me, I would have still been in Georgia. But they had a contract with U-Haul to where I could pick up the truck. I didn't have to have any money. And Evans, my husband, he had decided he was going to move with me. At the time, we weren't married. And he owned an auto body shop. He was working day and night to get money to help with the move because they paid for the truck, but we had to pay for our hotel along the way. And when we got here, they would give us money back for the hotel stay and for gas in the vehicle, gas in the truck or what have you. So he paid for the gas here because, baby, I didn't have that $5. Okay, I didn't have no money. Side note: have you ever heard the story of Viola Davis and her husband when they're on Black Love, and she's talking about when she met her husband, she didn't have anything and she had bad credit, and her husband was like, "I already knew you had bad credit," and it didn't matter to him. It reminds me of me and my husband because when we met, I was not trying to date anyone. I was trying to get my life together, okay? I was not interested in dating anyone, but my husband would not take no for an answer. We started out as friends And I even told my husband, you're not my type. I'm not interested in you. And he said, I am your type. You just don't know it yet. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And even, it's so weird. Even the first time he said, I love you to me, I said, oh, I don't know if I feel the same. He says, that's okay. Love takes time to grow. Any other man would have been like, let me leave this girl alone. Let me leave this girl alone. But anyway, it was true love. 4 kids later and a marriage. What are we going on? 12 years. We're going on 12 years this year. Anyway, that's just a little side note. But moving here, getting my CNA license opened the opportunity for me to move here. Then, after I moved here and started working in a nursing home, I befriended a patient. I worked on the floor with all women. There were no men on our floor. We were women only floor. And there was this woman who was like 50 something years old. She was in my mother's age range. Now, this was years ago. She was in my mother's age range. She was the youngest person on our floor. Everyone else on the floor was 90 and up, except for one person that had Parkinson's. But everybody else was like older, a lot older. But Miss Deb was the youngest person on our floor. She had no children here in North Dakota. Her son lived in Arizona. Her daughter lived in South Carolina. So I just started treating her like I would want somebody to treat me, or I would want somebody to treat my mother. When I finished my work, I would go in her room and sit with her, and we would just talk and what have you. And Miss Deb was a white lady, but Miss Deb used to dress like a black woman. I remember she had these clothing magazines that my mother would get, and I never seen a white woman that wore these particular type of clothes. No bad thing or what have you. And Miss Deb wasn't going anywhere. Most days she wasn't going anywhere. But Miss Deb put on her clothes every day and put on makeup and perfume every day. I was like, Miss Deb got style. My mother can dress. My mother, she loves clothes. She loves shoes. My mother has enough clothes that she could probably change outfits twice a day for a whole year and never wear the same thing. My mother has so many shoes. I remember I borrowed a pair of shoes from her and I wore them to church. She didn't even know they were her shoes. She didn't even know they were her shoes. But Miss Deb reminded me of my mother, the way she carried herself. And I remember my coworkers used to get mad. Oh, what are you, Miss Deb, doing in here? Y'all just in here cackling and laughing. And I used to this is before me and Evans got married. I used to joke and say, "Child, Miss Deb in here showing me how to get a man. Look at how Miss Deb carry herself. Miss Deb in here teaching me how to catch a man and how to keep him, boo." Anyway, we started even meeting outside of work. She would get on the bus, we would meet at the mall, we would shop, we would go to lunch or what have you. Never asked her for anything. We were just being friendly. I was just being friendly to her. One day I was in her room helping her with something, and she says to me, "Shantae, this is no money." Now, I was making $12 an hour. My rent for North Dakota at the time was very affordable. It was $6.25, which was $625. Excuse me. It was $625, which at the time was unheard of because we were in an oil boom and prices were the prices of New York back then. And it wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even worth it. Again, this was before the pandemic, but we were in an oil boom and landlords were greedy. But mine, he owned his building for many years and he just said, I was going to sell out to those greedy corporate people. No. Um, but she says to me, this is no money. And if you keep working like this, your body's going to be broke down. That's why I'm here now because of doing that hard work. I'm going to tell you how to make some real money. And I was like, okay. She told me how to be a QSP. Because here in North Dakota is one of the few states.
Oh, you're back?
I've been back, baby.
Oh.
I'm making a video, okay? Close the door. Come close the door back. Here in North Dakota is one of the few states in the United States where you can work as a independent contractor for the state to take care of people in their home, and you will get paid via Medicaid. So she told me about that. I believe, I can't remember 100% if she even gave me the paperwork. I think she even gave me the paperwork or told me where to go. I'm not sure. But she told me about this QSP program, which was basically doing the same work I did in the nursing home, but I went to the home of people that were disabled, elderly, or recovering from a surgery or from an accident that needed help. And the pay was $19 and something an hour. I think it was like 19.23, 19 something an hour. Significant increase from $12. So I did that, and exactly, you never know who you're going to meet. You are exactly right. You are exactly right. That is so true. That's how you have to know how to treat people. And that's one thing my mother always taught me. Treat people right. Treat people how you want to be treated. And I remember a bishop at one of the churches I used to go to a long time ago in my 20s. He used to say, you better treat people right because you never know who you're going to need to give you a drink of water before it's all over. And Miss Deb, she definitely positively impacted my life. I will never forget Miss Deb. Unfortunately, Miss Deb has passed away, but I will never forget her, and she will always be a part of my success story. So I was working as um, still kept my job at the nursing home and then working as a QSP because I was scared to leave the nursing home. And I had two clients independently, but people kept calling me. And it was just one me. I can't work a job full time and then take on a whole load of clients. And I was scared to branch out and start an agency, which here in North Dakota is not that hard, and it really doesn't cost you much money. It's very easy. But I was scared until my husband lost his job. But my point is, if when I was in Georgia, if I had not persevered past the panic attacks, whatever that was holding me back, and I believe it was a spiritual attack trying to keep me from moving forward, if I had given in, if my mother did not force me, although I was grown, my mom could have been like, okay, whatever, whatever, even though I had no prospects for a job, because some parents will hold their children hostage. They will hold their children hostage to what they want for them, even though what they want for them may not be in their best interest. But thank God that was not my mother. But if I had stayed there, not persevered, I would have never started. I would have never moved to North Dakota. I would have never got married because I was not gonna uh, have children, and I know I can't even feed myself. I live in my parents' house, and now I'm gonna bring a baby. I don't think so. So that would not have happened. I would probably wouldn't have my four kids if I had stayed in Georgia. And a lot of people say four kids, that's a lot of kids. By today's standards, it probably is a lot of kids. But my mother's best friend has seven kids. That's a lot of kids to me. And I knew another lady that had 12 kids. That's a lot of kids to me. My mom had three, so four doesn't seem that big of a difference anyway. But if I had not persevered, I would have never moved here, would have never probably been married, didn't have my children. I would have never helped impact other people's lives. I would have never started a non medical home care agency employing 15 people. I would have never done that. And then one of my greatest business accomplishment is that I taught other people how to start their own non-medical in-home care agency. Now, plenty of people took my class. Some people paid for the class, never showed up. Some people paid for the class, showed up for day one, never showed up again, paid for the money. One person, she took the class with a partner, a business partner. The business partner gave up. Oh, it's taking too long. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. Mind you, I tell you, hey, I went to six figures in less than 12 months, but that may not be what happens for you. I can't promise you that. And it's not get rich overnight. It's going to take time and perseverance. When I started my non medical home care agency, I had no money. So I was the sole employee. I worked 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 3 months straight by myself until I was able to hire people. I had to have a procedure on my toe. I had a procedure on my toe and I still went to take care of my clients. Now, I did take my niece with me after I had the procedure on my toe, and I took her with me because I couldn't afford to pay somebody real regular wages. I just slid her some money and she came with me to do what I couldn't do because of my foot. But the person who took my class and persevered, she made $1 million, not profit, but her business did $1 million and she hired 30 people. She was a mother. She's a mother of six. And when she took my class, she was working at a grocery store. That's my biggest accomplishment as a business owner. If I had not, if I had given up when things got tight or tough, I couldn't have had an impact on her life. I could not have had an impact on her life and helped her change her family financial situation if I did not persevere. When I first started my business, my home care business, I remember in the paperwork I needed workman's comp insurance. When I called workman's comp, they were giving me a hard time for weeks because they kept saying I need unemployment insurance. I called unemployment. They kept saying we can't give you unemployment. You don't have any employees to give you unemployment insurance for. I would call workman's comp back and explain to them, hey, they won't give me unemployment insurance because they say I don't have employees. Well, we can't give you workman's comp without unemployment insurance. I had to keep calling. And finally, the lady said to me, tell them my name and what I said. And I believe she said to tell them to contact me or write down my information or what have you. And once I told them that, they gave me the workman's comp insurance. But if I had been like, oh, I guess this isn't meant to be. They say I need the insurance, but they won't give it to me because I have no unemployment insurance. If I didn't persevere, my family would have been struggling a lot longer than we had to be. Because yes, my husband did find a new stable job, but it wasn't like overnight. I would have never started my agency. I would have never impacted 15 people. And I would have never impacted the person who started her own business and did $1 million in revenue and hired 30 people. So I just want to encourage you that although you may run into obstacles, things may happen, that doesn't mean that it's not meant for you. Doesn't mean that you are to throw in a towel. You may need to regroup and start over. And there is nothing wrong with starting over. There is absolutely nothing wrong with starting over. Do not feel ashamed. You may be a student and you failed a class. Maybe you didn't drop the class. You just thugged it out and that didn't work for you. You failed. Okay, regroup. Regroup. Maybe what you're majoring, you may need to think, is this my major? Maybe I need to change my major. but don't throw in the towel. Don't throw in the towel. Regroup and keep pushing forward so you can see the final result. I hope y'all enjoyed the information that I gave. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you coming on, supporting me. I thank you so much. You guys just don't know how much it means to you. Listen, I have started a Patreon. The Patreon, you can go on there and check it out. I put the link in the chat box. You can go on there and check it out. Join us this Sunday live on Patreon starting at 5 a.m. That's 5 a.m. Central, not Eastern. A lot of you might be on Eastern time. So it's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, 5 a.m. Central. One of these days, I'm going to master talking and typing. Oh, you are very welcome. You are very welcome. You are very welcome. Join me this Sunday, 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be live on Patreon doing prayer. Now, I know there are Patreons that are paid, but this particular Patreon is free. Free. We are not charging for prayer. We are not charging for prayer. I will not be in trouble with the Lord when I meet the end and see him at the gate. We are not charging for prayer. So meet me at 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting this Sunday, so we can come into agreement with each other for the things that we need in this life, the things that we need help prevailing and pushing through. Yes, yes. So join us so we can stand in agreement with each other. It is a more intimate setting. Here on Facebook, not Facebook, oh my goodness, YouTube, you get some of any and everybody on here. Some people join just to troll, some people join for encouragement, some people join to be nosy, but Patreon is where we can get more intimate, get to know each other a little bit better, stand in agreement. If you want to type in your prayer request, make a prayer request, it is a more private community where we can come together, encourage, and uphold each other. Now, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let everybody go because I got to get back to studying because anatomy will not take me out. Failure is not my portion. I am a winner. I am a winner. But we are living in a rough time, rough on various areas. But I'm particularly talking about rough financially. It is rough. And I believe it's going to get worse. I really do believe that we are going to see it is going to be worse than the '08 recession. I just believe that. However, I believe that although times may get tight and it may get worse financially than the um, '08, the 2000s recession, I believe with all that is within me that it is also going to be a time where Others will thrive financially like never before. I believe this is a season that we are entering into a season where we are going to see our greatest financial breakthrough, that we are going to receive our greatest financial blessing. But we have to be in position to receive. We can't be scared to receive, but we have to be in position. We have to be in position. Yes, some people are going to lose their jobs. Unfortunately, many people are even going to lose their homes. But I believe that if we are in position, we can prosper even in a tough financial season, because in every crisis, there are millionaires made. In every financial crisis, someone is going to get richer. Why not us? So, again, join me this Sunday on Patreon. I put the link in the chat. 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting this Sunday. I will be there. If there is just one person, I will be there. Whenever I go live or go on Patreon, I don't care if just one person shows up. I'm going to stay live. I am going to be there. It's not about always about how many people, but if I can help change the life of one person, I've done my job. I've done my job. Oh, you've heard a pastor say that recently. Yes, I believe that with all that is within me. One of my girlfriends, um, during the last recession, she purchased her home in a foreclosure, got a very good deal on it. And she recently sold it, I think last month, right after Christmas, right before Christmas. And she almost doubled, almost got double what she paid for it. Yes, if the gates of heaven open up and pour a blessing down, you have nothing to catch it. You're not helping yourself. Ooh, that's a word right there. That's a word right there. Yes. Yes. So we want to be in position. And I give this disclaimer. I am not a pastor. I am not a preacher. My parents are, well, my mom was just named associate pastor a couple of weeks ago. Um, so I guess I'm a PK kid again. But I am not a pastor. I am not a preacher. I am not an evangelist. I am not a deacon. I am not even a usher. But I am a child of God. And I believe in the power of prayer. And I believe with prayer, all things are possible. I believe that if I stand in agreement with you, and if you stand in agreement with me, we can make some things happen. Amen. So I hope to see you guys on Sunday morning. Until next time, be blessed. Remember, prevail, persevere, cry if you have to, scream if you have to, wipe your face, and push forward. This is not going to take you out. This pain is birthing your breakthrough. It's birthing your next season. Until next time, be blessed. Have a good night, you guys.